Have you ever felt like life is pushing you down so hard that you begin to wonder if you will ever rise again? Sometimes the greatest purpose of your life is hidden inside the very challenges that try to break you. There was a boy named Robert, born in a small town where people lived simple lives. His father worked as a carpenter, his mother as a teacher. And though they didn't have much, they taught him the values of honesty, hard work, and kindness. As a child, Robert dreamed big. He wanted to build a life where his parents would never have to struggle again. That dream fueled him through school, through long nights of study, through failures that almost broke him. By the time he graduated, Robert had made it into a big city and secured a respectable job. At first, it felt like a victory. The bright lights, the tall buildings, the sound of ambition in the air, it all gave him the thrill of success. He worked long hours, determined to prove himself. Each paycheck was bigger than the last. He bought new clothes, moved into a modern apartment, and sent money home to his parents. On the surface, everything looked perfect, but inside, a quiet emptiness began to grow. Robert would lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, asking himself questions he couldn't answer. Why am I not happy? Why do I feel like something is missing? He silenced those questions by working harder, staying later, chasing the next milestone. Yet the harder he ran, the heavier his heart became. Then came the day that changed everything. One evening, as Robert was finishing work, he received a call that shattered his world. His father had passed away suddenly from a heart attack. No last words, no final hug, just silence. That night, Robert sat in his apartment, surrounded by everything he thought he wanted, yet he felt poorer than ever before. In his mind, he could hear his father's gentle voice, "Son, don't just make a living, make a life." For weeks, Robert walked around like a shadow of himself. At work, he barely spoke. At home, he avoided the mirror. He realized he had spent years climbing a ladder, only to discover it was leaning against the wrong wall. He wasn't living his dream. He was living a cycle that drained his soul. One rainy evening, he wandered through the city streets, lost in thought. People rushed past with blank faces, chasing their own invisible finish lines. That's when he heard it, the sound of a violin. He turned and saw an old man sitting at the corner of the street playing music with trembling hands. His clothes were worn, his shoes torn, but his music carried a beauty that pierced Robert's heart. He stopped and listened. No one else paid attention, but Robert felt as if the melody was speaking directly to him. When the music ended, Robert walked up to the man and asked softly, "Why do you play here when no one even listens?" The old man smiled and said, "Because music is my gift, and a gift is not meant to be hidden. Even if one soul listens, I have lived my purpose." Those words struck Robert like lightning. For the first time, he understood that purpose is not about wealth or recognition. It is about giving the world the best of who you are, even if no one notices. Purpose is in sharing your gift, not hiding it. The next morning, Robert decided to change. He didn't quit his job, but he stopped living only for it. He began volunteering at a youth center, helping teenagers who had lost direction. At first, it felt awkward. He doubted himself. He thought, "What difference can I really make?" But he kept going. He listened to their stories, the boy who had no father, the girl who had no hope of finishing school, the quiet ones who felt invisible. Slowly, Robert realized that his words, his time, his encouragement mattered. One evening, after a long mentoring session, a young boy said to him, "You're the first person who believed in me." Robert walked home with tears in his eyes. In that moment, he felt something no paycheck had ever given him: meaning. Still, the journey wasn't easy. His colleagues laughed at him for wasting his time. His friends told him he was being unrealistic. Some nights he came home exhausted, questioning whether he was on the right path. But then he would remember the old man's violin, the beauty of music played without an audience, and his father's words echoing in his heart. That gave him strength to continue. As months passed, Robert changed. He still worked his job, but now he worked with clarity. He didn't see it as his life, but as a tool, a resource that supported his true calling. He learned to balance responsibility with passion, discipline with compassion, and in that balance, he found peace. Robert discovered that challenges never disappear. There were days he felt lost again, days when grief for his father came back sharp and heavy, days when he doubted his worth. But unlike before, he no longer saw those moments as failures. He saw them as teachers. Each obstacle, each setback, each disappointment, it was shaping him, not destroying him. He remembered how his father worked with wood as a carpenter. Every piece began rough, full of splinters, without shape. But with patience, with care, with time, his father would sand it, carve it, polish it, until the wood revealed its beauty. Life, Robert realized, was doing the same with him. The challenges were the tools, the pain was the carving, and the result was purpose. He began to notice little things he had ignored before. The smile of a stranger when he held the door, the relief in a child's eyes when someone listened, the joy in giving without expecting anything back. Slowly, he understood that happiness is not found in possessions, but in purpose. It is not measured by how much you take, but by how much you give. Years later, Robert looked back at his journey. He realized that his toughest challenges had been his greatest teachers. Without the pressure, he wouldn't have discovered his strength. Without the loss, he wouldn't have searched for meaning. Without the emptiness, he wouldn't have found his purpose. And he knew that the story of his life was not of one of defeat, but of transformation. And maybe you feel like Robert once did, lost, tired, unsure of why you're here. Maybe life has tested you in ways that feel unbearable. But remember this, those very challenges are shaping you. They are not the end of your story, they are the beginning. Your struggles are not here to break you, they are shaping you. Your true purpose is not far away, it already lives within your heart. Face life's challenges with courage, for they are the key that unlocks your destiny. If this story touched your heart, don't let the journey stop here. Subscribe to Life Lessons Library, and together, let's turn pain into power and challenges into purpose.